Deep beneath the sands of the Middle East, in a place archaeologists swore held nothing but dust and ruins, something impossible has surfaced. Not a fragment of pottery, not an inscription in stone, but a sealed chamber, untouched for millennia, and inside a relic so sacred, so feared, that even hardened scientists stepped back in silence. The Ark of the Covenant, the legendary chest said to hold the presence of God himself, may no longer be myth. Hit like and subscribe, because what comes next will rewrite everything you thought you knew. The discovery began with a collapse. A section of ground near an ancient fortress gave way after a minor earthquake, opening a jagged chasm. Locals reported strange lights flickering in the night sky above the site, a shimmering glow that seemed to pulse with rhythm. When researchers descended, they found a carved stairwell leading straight into darkness. At the bottom, walls blackened, as if scorched from within, yet no trace of fire remained. The air itself was thick, metallic, almost electric, as if the chamber was alive. On the far wall, etched into limestone, were markings no one expected to see. Hebrew letters glowing faintly, spelling the name of Yahweh. Experts later confirmed the lettering was thousands of years old, yet it looked untouched by time, sharper than anything carved with primitive tools. And just beneath it, an object rested on a stone platform. It was covered by layers of decayed cloth and fragments of what appeared to be gold plating. But even from a distance, witnesses claimed they felt a vibration in the air, like standing next to a thunderstorm, frozen in place. When the first attempt was made to touch the covering, instruments malfunctioned instantly. High-resolution cameras cut out, metal tools magnetized, pulling violently toward the platform. One archaeologist, reaching too close with a gloved hand, collapsed without warning, his body convulsing, eyes wide in terror. He survived, but described what he saw in that split second of unconsciousness, a blinding flash of fire and a voice, not human, whispering a single word: "Return." The team pressed on. They documented strange anomalies in the chamber's atmosphere. Radiation levels spiked unpredictably. Heart monitors surged with irregular rhythms. Several crew members reported hearing the sound of distant trumpets, though nothing was audible on recording devices. And yet, despite the danger, the researchers refused to leave. Because the evidence was mounting, the object before them matched every ancient description of the Ark. Inscriptions from the Book of Exodus described its dimensions with precision: a chest of acacia wood overlaid with pure gold, with two winged cherubim facing one another across the lid. The fragments uncovered here aligned with those dimensions exactly, but there was more. Alongside the chest were shards of tablets, crystalline and translucent, unlike any stone previously catalogued. They pulsed faintly with light, as though energy coursed through them even now. Could these be remnants of the original tablets of the law, broken by Moses? Word of the find spread quickly, though officials tried to keep it contained. Security forces arrived, sealing the site and cutting all outside communication. Eyewitnesses in the nearby village reported military convoys rushing in at night, their headlights blacked out, their movements coordinated like a secret operation. Within days, fences and armed guards surrounded the excavation. And yet whispers leaked out. Scientists who briefly examined the relics described unexplainable phenomena: compasses spinning wildly, GPS signals vanishing, and the sensation of being watched from the shadows of the chamber itself. One leaked photo, smuggled through encrypted channels, showed what appeared to be the lid of the Ark: two golden figures, wings stretching toward each other. But the surface was not dull or corroded as one would expect after thousands of years. Instead, it gleamed, reflecting light in a way no ordinary gold could. A living radiance, as if the material itself rejected decay. Metallurgists later suggested the alloy was unknown to science, a compound with properties far beyond anything from the ancient world. The deeper the investigation went, the stranger the occurrences became. Several researchers resigned abruptly, refusing to speak of what they had seen. Others reported nightmares of floods, earthquakes, and cities consumed by fire. A historian who spent just 15 minutes inside the chamber later admitted he could no longer enter any place of worship. He said the presence he felt there shattered his understanding of faith forever. And yet the Ark remained untouched, sealed under orders from above. Theories swirled. Was it a divine artifact, pulsing with the very presence of God, or a lost technology, an ancient power source mistaken for holiness? Whatever it was, its guardians now feared it might be too dangerous to reveal, because if the Ark had truly been found, then the world's greatest secret was no longer a matter of faith. It was a matter of survival. The decision to keep the Ark sealed only fueled the frenzy outside the excavation zone. Within days, satellite images revealed strange activity around the perimeter, heavy equipment being lowered underground, unmarked aircraft hovering without explanation, and ground temperatures spiking as if some immense heat source had been activated below. But what rattled observers most were the reports of an electromagnetic field expanding outward from the chamber, a radius that grew larger by the hour, warping radio frequencies and even blacking out regional power grids without warning. Inside, those who dared approach the Ark documented phenomena that bordered on the impossible. Paper records ignited spontaneously when brought within a few feet. Digital watches stopped cold at exactly 12 o'clock, then refused to restart. One researcher, attempting to analyze the air with a handheld sensor, described a sudden tearing sound, like the fabric of reality itself splitting apart. He dropped the device and fled, swearing he saw a figure, robed, faceless, standing silently atop the Ark for a single heartbeat before vanishing into thin air. The military response escalated. Troops on site began wearing specialized suits lined with copper mesh, claiming it reduced the frequency of sudden collapses among personnel. Still, guards reported violent bursts of light from inside the chamber at night. Flashes so intense they illuminated the desert sky like silent lightning storms. Villagers watching from a distance swore they heard a low hum carried on the wind, a vibration that settled deep into their bones. Several claimed the sound spelled words in their own language, though none agreed on what those words meant. Historians were rushed in, their expertise demanded at all hours. They discovered something chilling: carved inscriptions on the floor beneath the Ark, only visible after layers of soot were carefully brushed away. The writing described a warning, not in Hebrew, but in a mixture of ancient Egyptian and Sumerian. It told of a vessel of command, capable of summoning storms, toppling empires, and burning armies alive. One line in particular shook the experts: "Let no king lift its cover, for his throne shall vanish with him." The implication was devastating. Had ancient rulers known the Ark was not just sacred, but catastrophic, and the more evidence they found, the clearer it became that multiple civilizations had attempted to contain or weaponize it. In the margins of the inscription were faint etchings of figures: Assyrian, Babylonian, and even Roman. Each culture had marked its presence, as if they too had encountered the Ark, then sealed it again to bury the terror inside. Suddenly, history's unexplained disasters cities consumed by fire from the sky, armies vanishing without a trace, seemed less like myths and more like footprints of a recurring catastrophe. Then came the greatest shock of all. Beneath the pedestal where the Ark rested, ground-penetrating scans revealed a second chamber, a vault carved with geometric precision, deeper than anything built in that era. When opened, it revealed dozens of stone jars arranged in a perfect circle. Inside each was a strange residue, crystalline and white, with traces of manna-like properties described in Exodus. Samples taken for analysis evaporated the instant they left the vault, as if the substance could not survive outside its sanctum. But before the team could explore further, alarms blared. A tremor shook the chamber with violent force, cracks racing across the ceiling. And for a moment, the Ark itself emitted a pulse, a blinding surge of light that knocked every instrument offline. What followed was chaos. Soldiers scrambled, scientists screamed, and one of the high-definition drones filming the chamber captured a frame no one could explain. The golden cherubim on the Ark shifting, wings opening slightly as though stretching after millennia of silence. The footage was confiscated immediately, but whispers spread. Some swore the Ark was alive. Others insisted it was awakening. The aftermath drew the attention of governments across the globe. Satellites from rival nations repositioned over the region. Intelligence leaks suggested multiple factions were plotting to seize the site, not to study the Ark, but to harness it. Reports emerged of covert negotiations, secret shipments of advanced containment technology, and even religious leaders flown in under heavy guard to pray over the object. But each attempt to approach was met with new terror. Fires breaking out without flame, shadows moving where no light fell. A growing sense of dread that the Ark was no longer dormant. It was reacting. And yet, the deeper question remained unanswered. If the Ark had truly been unearthed, was it ever meant to be found again? Or had humanity just opened the one vault on Earth designed never to be touched? The question grew heavier when seismic instruments across the region recorded a low-frequency vibration originating from the excavation site. The signal repeated in a precise pattern, identical every 33 minutes, stretching across thousands of miles. Radio astronomers confirmed the frequency matched one detected decades earlier from deep space, a signal dismissed at the time as background noise. Now it was emanating from beneath the desert, pulsing from the Ark itself. Specialists brought in to study the pulse quickly discovered its effect on the human body. Exposure for even a few minutes produced intense physiological changes. Elevated heart rates, blood pressure spikes, and sudden nosebleeds. Prolonged contact triggered hallucinations so vivid they blurred into reality. A soldier assigned to guard duty reported watching the walls of the chamber dissolve into vast oceans, thunderclouds roaring overhead. Another collapsed screaming after seeing a blazing city in the sky, descending in silence. Doctors sedated him, but his final words echoed through the camp. It's not a vision, it's memory. The resonance spread beyond the site. Electrical grids in 3 neighboring countries flickered simultaneously, satellites glitched in orbit, and compasses in the region pointed not north, but directly toward the chamber. Airline pilots reported instruments veering off course whenever flights passed overhead. Some diverted altogether, claiming they saw a shimmering dome in the desert, invisible to radar, but visible to the naked eye, a distortion in the air, like heat rising from asphalt, except it spanned miles. Meanwhile, scholars unearthed manuscripts long buried in private archives. One document, hidden for centuries in a Vatican vault, described a final unveiling, in which the Ark would break its silence when the world was on the edge of collapse. Another, discovered in Ethiopia, spoke of a second covenant sealed within the Ark, not written on stone, but etched in light, meant to judge humanity when nations gathered against it. And among the Dead Sea Scrolls, an overlooked fragment contained a chilling phrase: "When the throne is lifted, the sky will open." Evidence mounted that the Ark was more than artifact. It was a trigger. Intelligence reports leaked of factions already testing its resonance on classified equipment. A field test conducted in absolute secrecy ended with a military drone fleet crashing simultaneously, its operators blinded by searing white light moments before impact. Survivors described the sensation of their very thoughts being stripped away, replaced by a chorus of voices not their own. In response, governments accelerated their plans. Some wanted the Ark secured. Others wanted it destroyed. A few believed it could be weaponized to end wars forever. And then, without warning, the Ark responded on its own. On the seventh night after its unearthing, villagers miles away awoke to the sound of unearthly horns echoing across the desert. Surveillance cameras caught flocks of birds rising in synchronized spirals into the sky, forming patterns eerily similar to the cherubim depicted on the Ark's lid. At the excavation site, soldiers dropped their weapons, paralyzed by a force they could not see. Light erupted from the chamber's entrance, reaching into the clouds like a spear of fire. Instruments recorded temperatures surging to impossible levels, yet the sand outside remained cool to the touch. The following morning, the chamber was different. Symbols that had once been faint now blazed with clarity, glowing like molten metal. The pedestal beneath the Ark revealed a hidden mechanism, a set of gears carved not from stone, but from an alloy unknown to science, interlocked with a precision rivaling modern engineering. One gear rotated slowly, triggered not by human hands, but by the surge of energy overnight. As it turned, the floor beneath trembled, and the Ark shifted forward an inch, as though preparing to move on its own for the first time in thousands of years. The shift unleashed something far more terrifying, a deep resonance that rippled outward, carried by the Earth itself. Seismologists in Tokyo, Cairo, and Los Angeles all detected the same tremor at the same instant, a global echo with no natural explanation. Ocean tides shifted abnormally, volcanoes in dormant ranges stirred, and lightning storms broke out in cloudless skies. Experts feared the Ark was not merely awakening, it was aligning. And in the midst of chaos, an unmarked message appeared on encrypted intelligence networks worldwide, coordinates transmitted from an unknown source, pointing to sacred sites across the planet. Mount Sinai, Jerusalem's Temple Mount, Aksum in Ethiopia, even the ruins of Babylon. Each coordinate tied by ancient tradition to the Ark's journey. Analysts pieced together the pattern in horror. The sites formed a perfect circle across the Earth's surface, with the excavation at its center. The realization came too late. At dawn, satellites captured each location, flickering with bursts of radiant energy, faint at first, then blazing with intensity. Sinai's peaks shimmered like molten glass. The Temple Mount glowed beneath its golden dome. The ruins of Babylon lit with fire that cast no smoke. Even Ethiopia's sacred church, long said to guard the Ark's twin, pulsed with light in synchrony. The earth itself seemed to breathe as these sites awakened, connected by lines of invisible force converging on the chamber. The resonance inside became unbearable. Soldiers reported their ears bleeding, their vision fracturing into shards of light. Machines exploded without reason, and armored vehicles outside melted into slag, as if struck by a sun no one could see. Yet in the heart of the chamber, the ark remained untouched, its surface gleaming with serene radiance. And then it happened. The cherubim on the lid slowly turned toward one another, wings unfurling until their tips met above the chest, completing a circuit that had been broken for millennia. The result was instantaneous. A blinding column of fire erupted skyward, visible from space, piercing the atmosphere and splitting into a lattice of light that wrapped around the globe. The grid of light triggered visions across the world. In every nation, millions collapsed simultaneously, seeing landscapes of impossible beauty and horror. Ancient battles replayed in the sky. Rivers turned to blood, cities crumbled, stars fell. Some saw themselves weighed against a scale of light and shadow, their lives unrolled like scrolls before unseen judges. Others described overwhelming peace, a presence that knew every hidden thought. Doctors tried to explain it as mass psychosis, but the visions carried details no one could fabricate, each person recalling fragments of the same impossible scene, word for word, image for image, as though connected to a single consciousness. Governments panicked. Emergency sessions convened in New York, Geneva, and Moscow, yet every attempt to act was silenced by failure. Nuclear silos jammed shut. Air fleets grounded themselves mid-flight. Communications flickered with phantom signals. Ancient languages whispered through modern channels. Intelligence intercepted a single repeating phrase: "The Ark is not yours." No one claimed responsibility for the transmission, yet it was heard everywhere at once, from submarine frequencies in the Pacific to encrypted satellites in orbit. And in the chamber itself, a voice rose out of nothing, echoing in tones no human vocal cords could make, declaring words the microphones could not capture. Words burned into the minds of every witness instead. Then the final mechanism revealed itself. Beneath the pedestal, the alloy gears accelerated until the chamber floor split open, revealing a hollow core descending into the earth. The ark shifted, descending into the void, drawn into machinery that should not exist in stone. The ground shook violently as dust and debris collapsed inward. But instead of burying it, the fissure widened into an impossible corridor, walls of luminous stone lined with carvings from every known civilization, scenes of floods, fires, and deliverance repeating across time. The ark descended further, as if returning to a hidden network beneath the planet, one humanity had never been meant to uncover. Above, the lattice of light around the globe pulsed one final time. In an instant, every device, phone, computer, satellite, flashed the same image. A symbol, ancient yet universal. Two wings outstretched over a throne of fire. Billions saw it, billions tried to deny it, but the imprint remained burned into their retinas. And when the light collapsed, silence fell across the earth. The resonance stopped. The chamber sealed itself. The ark was gone. But in its place, a mark remained. A scorched sigil on the desert floor, visible only from above. A circle of fire carved into the sand, aligning perfectly with the coordinates of the other sacred sites. Pilots who flew over swore the circle glowed faintly at night, pulsing like a heartbeat. And those who were nearest the ark when it vanished carry something even stranger, their eyes shimmering faint gold in the dark, their voices carrying harmonics beyond human range. When asked what they saw in the final flash, they give no answers. Only a single warning, whispered in a voice not entirely their own. It has only returned to where it waits.